Welcome to the But Did You Die podcast. This is Darren Boot Clark, and I'm coming to you back live in the mean streets of El Lago, as I like to say. And today we are interviewing a great couple. They are El Lagonians themselves. They are the founders of Missionaries for Hope, and it's Stephanie and Kirk Clawson. I got to know them through Facebook, and I had posted about Coffee to the Rescue, and what Coffee to the Rescue's mission was all about is stopping human trafficking. And Stephanie reached out to me and she said, "Do you ever work with local groups?" And I said, "Well, right now I was looking at some other avenues." And I said, "But you know what? Yeah." I reached out to her privately and I said, "Let's talk." And she told me what she was all about. We had a meeting at Pelican and hit it off famously, and ended up Coffee to the Rescue is now partnering with Missionaries for Hope, because as you'll find out in the podcast, they are doing great work all around stopping human trafficking. So Stephanie and Kirk, welcome to the show.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Honored to be here.
Yes.
You bet. I'm excited. Before we get started, and because it's going to be a great show, I want to talk about Coffee to the Rescue a little bit. We've got two new products. We've got our Jasmine is back in stock. That's been out for 2.5 months. And that is a low acid coffee. Somebody that they like coffee, but it messes with their stomach. It's the mildest coffee out there. So that is back in stock. And then we also offer a pound of coffee, but with 4 different flavors. So it's 4 4-ounce bags, and it's a sampler 4-pack. And that has taken off because a lot of people don't know our coffee yet. So it's a great way to buy, instead of buying 5 20-pound bags or 4 20-pound bags for $80, they can buy one 4-pack for £1 and try all of them and see which one they like.
If you have commitment issues, that's the perfect package. You know, you try a little bit of this, try a little bit of that, man.
Absolutely. And it's working well. So, and all the profits from Coffee to the Rescue are going to Missionaries for Hope. So we're ending up, today's the last day of February, and then we will be presenting a check to y'all within the next week. So I'm excited to do that.
We're very honored. Thank you for your partnership.
You bet. I'm very excited. So that's Coffee to the Rescue, $20 for a pound of coffee or a 4-pack. And anybody that buys it and drinks the coffee will be saving lives with every sip. So I'm very excited. But let's get back to why we're here. The But Did You Die podcast is all about overcoming adversity and going on to do great things. And today is an amazing story. So Stephanie and Kirk, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then let's move on through to Missionaries for Hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, man.
So hi, my name is Stephanie, and I actually am not originally from Texas, but my family moved down here when I was about 16 years old. And so I've stayed. That's where I met my husband, so now I have children. But we are missionaries, and we actually went on our very first mission trip in 2011.
Yep.
Okay.
And we did a mission trip because we thought we were good people, right? We were good people. We love people. Let's go and see what this is about. And we went to Belize, and we spent about a week in Belize, and it was life altering. And it really truly made us understand like who we are, what the fabric of our belief is. It kind of like readjusts a lot of things in your life, because you see poverty in a different light, you see need in a different light. And when we came back from that trip in 2011, I just remember just thinking like it really truly changed the DNA of who I was, because I knew I was a good person, and I knew, I loved helping people, but this was on such a different level. And we've continued to do mission work since 2011. We've gone to Thailand, Tanzania, Niger, Honduras. We've gone to Belize, 5 different times. We actually stayed almost 3 months there at the end of 2015. And we love missions. We love people. We love seeing people restored. We love seeing people healed. And that's just kind of who we are, the fabric of who we are. We believe in restoration, and we believe it not only obviously internationally, but we believe in it locally as well. So we're really involved in our local church. We're involved in our local community. And I don't know, I guess that's just who we are. We love people, and we love connecting people. So I think that's kind of where we find ourselves even lately, is just connecting people. We hear a lot of people saying, do you know someone who does, or
Right.
you can you help me find?
Mhm.
And it seems like we've always met just the right people anywhere. Like, we'll be out eating dinner and we'll happen to talk to the couple next to us, or it's just so weird on how you find yourself being connected with people. And that's how we're kind of, I don't know, I guess that's kind of our lane, it seems like lately, is just
Sure.
connecting people and connecting the community
Mm-hmm.
to be more impactful and be
Yep.
more engaged in what's going on in their community. And I know we'll talk a little bit further about that in the
Absolutely.
podcast, but that's kind of who we are. We love people.
Yeah,
And
Stephanie wasn't born here, but you got here as quick as you could.
Yep.
God bless her. So she's in Texas now.
Yeah.
I grew up. I'm Kirk. I grew up in the Texas City, Lamarck area.
Okay.
And then we lived in Seabrook prior to this, old Seabrook, for about a year, and then here in El Lago this summer will make a year.
Yeah.
And so
Awesome.
obviously we love El Lago, we love the city, we love the neighborhood,
Yeah.
we love our
It's
homes.
amazing.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. It's
it is.
fantastic.
We love it.
And talking about connecting, I'm kind of known as I know a guy, right? I
Right,
might not
right.
be, I can't fix your car, but I know a guy who can do that. Or,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
you know,
know
I've
what?
got a
You are
roofer if you
valuable
need
for
it.
that.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is, and that is really valuable, because I think people are really good at asking,
Mhm.
but there's not really good opportunity to connect. And so, and we know like weird things too. I don't know, that's what's so strange. And so we'll get random calls from people or messages. Hey, do you know somebody that happens to have silverware for them all? That's the strangest thing I've ever heard, but I
Right.
actually do.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
people. So it's really strange, but
Great
that
skill to have.
it is.
Absolutely.
It is, because I don't know everything, and I don't have everything,
Mm-hmm.
but I love talking, and I love asking questions. I'm that person in the crowd that'll always have my hand raised asking a question, because I know there's people in the crowd that have questions that aren't like me,
Mm-hmm.
who
Sure.
are shy. And so I'm always, even if I know the answer, I'll be like, so, and I'm like that person with my hand raised.
Yep.
So, because I really believe in connecting people to what they need or what they want. And so, yeah.
And Darren, as you can tell, she's the extrovert and I'm the introvert. So
Sure.
I'm the strong silent type. So
There you go. Oh, absolutely. So you guys went on missionary trips and you fell in love with that. It was your calling. How did
absolutely.
you form Missionaries for Hope?
Yeah.
That's a great question. So yes, we decided that we would form Missionaries for Hope, and originally that was going to be our ministry name while we were in Thailand. And so
Okay.
we were going to be in northern Thailand for about 2.5 years, and we had sold our home, rehomed our pets, sold our vehicles, got rid of everything. No storage unit with anything in it. We just literally had a couple totes with photos and family albums and a couple of irreplaceable things, and we had some family members that were during that time of transition between the States and Thailand that were affected by addiction to pornography and sexual exploitation and victims of sexual assault. And so we stayed here in the States to go ahead and address these issues and go ahead and get the right help and get everything we needed done and heal as a family.
Yep.
And during that time, I guess God really put something in us to have a passion for those who are victims and also those who are offenders.
Okay.
And we have a cat that's trying to join us. Sorry. And she apparently likes camera time. Sorry about that. But so we have a passion for victims and we have a passion for offenders as well, seeing them rehabilitated and seeing them get the healing, because I think a lot of us tend to really villainize offenders, and that's not unjustly. But there's obviously a brokenness in an offender that causes them to act out and offend. And so we have a passion to see that brokenness healed so that they're not reoffenders, as well as a passion to see healing happen with victims. So that really gave us a different outlook and changed our outlook as far as how ministry goes and how ministry looked for us. And so we stayed on in the Houston area.
Okay.
And we found our way to a prayer meeting in Houston where we agreed we weren't going to tell our story. We were just going to go in and meet with the leader of this organization and have this prayer meeting. And the second we walked in, we just spilled it. and told our whole story. And that really taught us a valuable lesson that, things like this, people don't talk about,
No, right.
families don't talk about, but it happens.
It's
It
a dark,
happens.
hard topic, right?
It
And
really
It
is.
is.
but it needs to come out into the
It
light.
does because I believe that fear and shame control a lot of healing.
Mm-hmm.
We're afraid to be ashamed, and so we don't come forward and seek the right help that we need as families.
Right.
And so this prayer meeting gave us an opportunity to shed that fear and that shame and really just move forward into a new type of healing. And so, with
Yep.
saying that, we still wanted to serve because we didn't know what else to do with our time. We had left our employments also,
Oh,
and
wow.
tried to figure that out. And so we got opportunities to serve with an organization ministering to victims of trafficking and going out into outreaches and preventive measures with ladies who are and gentlemen who are being trafficked. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of how we got our start about 4 years ago under
Okay.
Missionaries for Hope that we founded.
So,
Yeah.
so you founded
Yes.
Missionaries for Hope, and then jumped going to a meeting
Yes,
Yeah.
out of
And so
necessity, kind of for yourselves too, right?
absolutely. Yeah, you bet.
absolutely.
You
Because I
bet.
think when you're hurt and when you're broken, you have a tendency of just being still.
Yep.
And that almost makes things worse.
Right.
And so we kind of knew that we couldn't stay still. And so the prayer meeting kind of gave us direction. And we got connected with some really great people who allowed us a space to heal in, but then also to serve in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, probably for the first 3 years, so about from 2016 to 2019, we served on every capacity. So, we answered a 24-hour hotline of women calling in who were being exploited or trafficked. We picked up women at 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, from law enforcement to take them to aftercare homes. We mentored, and we actually still are friends with one of the first women that we ever mentored back in 2016.
Absolutely.
And then also, we served for about a year at an aftercare home up in Kendleton, Texas. And we worked there almost every Saturday doing anything they needed, scraping walls, tearing up carpet,
Mucking out stalls.
Oh yeah,
they had equine therapy.
Okay.
Yeah, we shoveled manure.
Yeah.
I mean, we literally did everything,
Yeah.
and we would come home every Saturday just sunburnt or have sap all over on us and dirt all over on us.
It was great.
It was
Yeah, it was
probably
great. You bet.
probably the best year I ever really had, because I had to walk through a lot of my own personal healing. I was a victim of a lot of sexual abuse even in my past,
Oh, wow.
which I thought that I had taken care of, right? So we grow up and we think, oh, yeah, I'm fine, I'm healed, this is great. But really, I wasn't. And I swept it under the rug. And when something traumatic happens, it kind of bubbled to the surface. And I realized a lot of what I thought was healing was really just masking.
Sure.
And so the first year that we did ministry, I think that was more of healing that we both had to walk through. And it was a very tough year because it was
I can only imagine.
ripping off the band-aids that we've stuck all over ourselves, and just really looking at each other and just saying, okay, this is truly who we are. This is the brokenness that we personally or our family has walked through. Like, how can we heal? But then not only how can we heal, but how can we help other families?
Exactly. And that's where, absolutely. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine.
That passion for other families and helping them walk through situations or helping them prevent situations from even occurring.
Yeah.
That's a passion for us as parents and as ministers.
Well, you lived it, right? And I call it living in the raw. I mean, you're open, you're raw. There's no band-aids. And let that heal. And then once you've been through it, now you can shepherd other people through it.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
And on equine therapy, they say, if you've got a wild kid, a wild man, wild woman, just crazy, put them with a wild Mustang. Yeah. And the two of them will calm each other down, right? And equine therapy, I'm a big believer in it. But I think that a wild animal and a they say wild for wild person, they can come together and find that semblance of calmness, because they will bring each other together to calm down. So,
Exactly.
yeah. And I think it's important to, you want to be able to have gone through it so that you can relate.
You're absolutely right.
Right. And because you're reaching people at the soul level.
Yes.
And that's a vulnerable, open place to be.
It is.
And the people that you're reaching out to they're at their rock bottom, whether it be a victim or an aggressor, right? So
correct.
There's only one way to go up, or you go out, and trying to prevent the out.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. That's and this is, to be very clear, this is in the Houston area. Houston's number 4, right? Atlanta's number 1, but Houston's number 4, and it's all over. I mean, it's not Houston. I'm not talking 30 miles down the road. I'm talking right here in our backyard.
Yes, absolutely. One of the organizations that we connected with does a lot of prevention with men. So in the anti-trafficking arena, there is a supply and demand issue.
Yep.
And so we can look at the women that are in commercial sex industry, they're the supply. So then you have to wonder, okay, who are all these men that are purchasing women? I mean, there's thousands of purchases going on daily within the greater Houston area, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yep.
So where is this demand coming from? And we connected with this amazing organization called Love People Not Pixels, and they're out of Pearland, Texas.
Okay.
And their whole drive is to educate people on how pornography directly fuels the demand for sex trafficking.
Absolutely.
So then when we started getting involved with them and we started listening and learning and we started doing our own research, it's mind blowing, because I think back like in the 70s and 80s, pornography was something that was hidden. It was something it wasn't easily obtainable. You had to mail off and receive back, or you had to go to the store and
behind a shelf with a black curtain.
Yes,
exactly.
The shame room, right? I mean, you never wanted to be seen going in or out as a kid or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
And it was that fear that I think really kept it at bay, that fear of the man being caught, or the fear of, so it was hidden and it was everything. Well, pornography is very different nowadays. Now it's on every phone.
Instantly accessible.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what we're finding, but it's not, I mean, I don't want to say like there's a good pornography and a bad pornography, but like when you think of Playboy, so Playboy, yes, it was considered pornography, but it wasn't vile, and it wasn't demeaning, and it wasn't, but because it was pictures and everything. And I'm not at all, saying, oh, go,
Well, I think you're saying it wasn't a violent.
Yes, it wasn't violent. And but nowadays it's not what it used to be.
Right.
Now the pornography that is out there is very violent. The number one searched pornography is for teen and for rape.
Yep.
So like, think of that.
Yeah.
That's the most searched pornography. And so
Grand Theft Auto, a video game kids play every day.
Exactly.
It's on there.
Yes, it is. And so when you look at that, and you kind of have to think, okay, so someone who's constantly consuming that type of pornography, there is an escalation dynamic that happens at that point.
Yep.
So just like with a drug, a lot of people who are hooked on meth or heroin, they didn't start on meth and heroin. They started on something that was much smaller, and then as the addiction grew, so did their consumption, and the type of drug that they consumed had to grow.
You just got to get them hooked, right?
Yes.
So I heard a statistic the other day about human trafficking, and on the getting the men hooked, or anybody that's addicted to porn. When was the first time someone was introduced to pornography? At what age?
About
10 years old.
8 or 9, right?
8 or 9. Yeah.
Yep. And I was floored because I've got a 6-year-old granddaughter and a 10-year-old grandson, and one of them has been statistically has seen it, right?
Yes.
And that freaks me out. Kids can't be kids anymore, right?
No,
You're
right.
They should be playing in the dirt and riding bikes and fishing with worms, or now. And I try to get them into that as much as I can. But they've got an iPhone. One's got an iPhone. One's got an iPad, and they have got the most amazing parents.
Yeah.
we're very close knit family, and we're in touch, and we talk and we discuss, but we're not with them 24/7. We can't be. We can't be helicopter. Protect a kid, overprotect a kid. You're gonna have to protect them for life, right?
Exactly.
So teach them to be self-sufficient. I tell them every time they come to me, Grandpa Boot, I don't know, I can't figure this out. What do I do? I said, you got to work the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
When you've worked the problem and you've out of solutions or tries, then please come to me. And at first they didn't like that, but don't take the easy way out.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Information is accessible.
Well, what we're finding is that it's usually due to an accidental exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't a 9-year-old seeking it out. No. It's that they accidentally typed something into their phone and it pulls up.
Or another
kid at school, or
a chat room on a video game.
Exactly.
Where they lurk.
Yes. Exactly. And so we have a 16-year-old daughter, and we've had these conversations. So I think as parenting, what it is, it's not just being that helicopter parent. That doesn't solve anything. No. It's being that open and honest and transparent parent that is going to keep your kids safe. Because if you form lines of communication that are safe and that are approachable, then when your kid accidentally comes across something that they know is not right, they'll bring it to you.
Right. Yeah,
and
be available.
I'm sorry, I don't know how I got. And then you were able to have those embarrassing but much needed conversations. But then you set the tone for your whole relationship with your child.
Absolutely.
Being able to come and talk and vent. And with our 16-year-old daughter, it's been the same, where we've had these conversations with her. We're very open, and we're not graphic or vulgar, but we use real words, real life terminology.
It's life.
It is. And she's told us some things that, like, I can't act surprised because I don't want her to not tell me things, because if you act shocked, then your kid will be like, oh. But she'll say, Mom, like, I ride the school bus and kids are watching porn on their phone on the school bus. Now, remember, you introduced us as being an Elago.
I know.
That means she gets on the bus right across the street. Right. So these are boys that go to her high school that are watching pornography on the bus on the way to high school.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all over.
It is. So we can't say, like, oh, this is an issue that a lot of larger cities deal with, or no. This is happening literally right here in our neighborhood, because our daughter is seeing it on the school bus.
I want to go back to one really great thing that you pointed out, is that your family is a really tight-knit family, and that your grandparent, or you're the grandfather, and so your grandkids have great parents, and you're a tight-knit family. And statistically, that doesn't make a difference.
Right, you're right.
And I'm sorry to say that. I commend parents that are great parents. We try our best to be great parents.
Sure.
And we always have. But unfortunately, the culture and the society that's outside of the four walls and the two doors of your home, it's very prevalent. And your kids are in that culture when they're not in your home. And so
or in your home when you're not watching their phone.
You're absolutely right.
You need to lock down the apps.
Right. And so we're not saying, I guess I want to point out, and I'm maybe not eloquently doing it, but I want to point out it's not a matter of parents not being good parents.
Right.
It can be a matter of parents needing to be a little more involved as far as technology goes, but it's not a matter of parents not being good parents.
No, you have to be involved. You don't need to be their friend.
Exactly.
You need to be their parent.
But it's a matter of the culture is out there, and your kids are exposed to that culture regardless of how good your parenting is. And that's
absolutely.
The point I wanted to make. It's not a point of shaming parents and saying, parents, you're not doing good enough, you have to do better. There's always room for growth. Don't misunderstand me, but this is not a parent shaming angle.
No,
it's absolutely not.
Well, Kirk has this. What do you say, that the culture is stronger? What does that say that you have?
I guess it's naive for us to think that our parenting is going to be stronger than the culture that our kids grow up in. 99% of the time, the culture is going to win, and in certain aspects. And so, that's why it's so important to have these conversations in an open line of communication with our kids, because we need to allow them to talk to us, their parents, about this culture that's out there.
Right. Yeah, I do too. And you just got to be available and be there and love them and love them through it. Right. I mean,
absolutely.
Life is going to happen, and life is hard. but you
It
got to
is.
be there to support them and be
Absolutely.
open. So yeah, that's what I mean about good parents. I mean, parent of the year. Believe me, I'm harder than anybody on kids. But
That's right.
I think I've failed as much as I've succeeded as a parent.
Sure,
And
me too.
I think you reach that next like awesome parenting level when you can apologize to your kids.
Yeah.
And I think as a parent, you don't think you should apologize, or I think out of ignorance, you think that, oh, I'm the parent, I shouldn't have to. But I think you reach that next step of like excellent parenting when you can kind of go to your kid and say, I am so sorry. I didn't handle this right. And then you have those really raw, open, when your kids go, yeah, you didn't.
And that's a life lesson for them.
Yes, absolutely.
Because now they're going to apologize, because saying I'm sorry is hard to do.
Yes, it is.
It's an ego thing.
Well, we've had to come back after we started learning about pornography and the negative effects that it has, not only just on your family, but what it has on your brain. So there's like a science behind it. And when we started learning about that and how it started to really affect the brain and how the brain processes things and how it just blew our minds. We had to come back. So we have a 23-year-old son and we have an 18-year-old son. And we had to come back to both of those people and say, we are so sorry that we had no idea how to talk to you.
We were not equipped.
We were not equipped on how to talk to you about this. We are sorry. We didn't know how to prepare you for this. Like, do you have any questions? Do you have any comments? And it was really humbling for us because we had to admit that we had no idea what we were doing, but we were willing to learn. We were willing to answer anything that they needed. And we kind of, they were like, like, okay.
Whatever, Mom.
But you know how neat it's been. So like I said, we have a 23-year-old son, and I think about a year ago, I said, just kind of out of the blue, I said, son, do you go to strip clubs? And he was like, no. And I'm all, come on, be honest. He's like, no, I don't. And I said, well, why don't you? And he's like, well, like I sit here and listen to you and Dad like talk about like all this like exploitation and how the women are horribly mistreated in the clubs. And he's like, I don't want to be a part of that. And so part of our ministry is we do go in and do ministry in strip clubs. We bring gifts to the women, we pray with them, we laugh with them, and we just I
stay in.
Oh, Kirk doesn't go in. Just a group. Kirk drives and we go in together, and he goes, well, I tell my friends though, like, man, if you guys go to the strip clubs, you might see my mom in there because I don't know what date she goes on.
Quote of the year.
Well, you may need to define what that means.
Right.
Well, oh my gosh. So listen to this. This is where kind of the humor of our ministry comes in. Because I think you kind of have to laugh a little because the statistics and the information is so daunting that it can be very depressing. But then God gives you like these really funny moments. And so my daughter, I think she was a freshman in high school, and she was sitting at the lunchroom table and they were talking about what their parents did for a living. This daughter said her mom did this and her dad did this. And Bailey said, oh, well, my mom goes and works in a strip club.
Strong.
And so she comes home and she tells me, oh, Mom, you'd be so proud of me. We were talking about what our parents do.
I told all my friends that you go to strip clubs.
And I'm all,
for ministry?
For ministry? And she's all, oh, I forgot to say that part. I'm all, oh my gosh. I'm like, Bailey, now your friends think I work in a strip club. And
this would be a group text moment.
So I said, can you please maybe tomorrow just add the ministry part to it? But we love though that this has really given us an opportunity to equip our own children with how to impact their own generation. So my daughter's 16. I'm not 16. So it would be very odd for me to sit in a group of 16-year-old girls and talk about these issues. So, but what I can do is equip my daughter with the right words, the right information, the right statistics. So when she's hanging out with her friends, she can say, hey, did you know? And then now same with my sons, give them the statistics about pornography. What is pornography really doing to our mind? How's it affecting our physical bodies? Because pornography has effect on our physical bodies as well. And so if we can equip them, then they can sit in a group, and when that conversation comes up or guys go, oh, I watch pornography and it's not a big deal, our sons can say, but did you know?
Yeah.
And maybe
Statistically, that's the gateway into it.
yes,
Exactly.
it is. And so when I mentioned that the escalation dynamic, so what it starts with is that soft core porn, what we see mainly sometimes in commercials,
yeah,
what we see on some TV shows, and then it goes from that to hardcore porn. Then that isn't good enough anymore, so now they do voyeurism. So now they're doing webcams because they can actually interact with somebody. Then it goes from that to massage parlors, because now they can be touched. Then no, it goes from webcams to strip clubs, because the strip clubs, they can then, now they're in person watching somebody. Then it goes from strip clubs to the illicit massage parlors, because now they're actually being touched by somebody. Then it goes from that to then actually street level prostitution.
So there's a grooming process for the victim, and there's also a grooming process for the predator.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, that's very well put.
It's a passive aggressive grooming process
that's,
for both.
That's very well put.
That is very well put. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk about Missionaries for Hope and what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So you transitioned from working with the girls in aftercare, and guys, right? It doesn't matter. And that even has evolved. Let's talk about now what your focus is.
Absolutely. Well, our focus now is really that prevention for that. So I'll give you a statistic. Houston is the #1 trafficking city in the entire United States. Okay. And so Houston Sergeant John Wall, want to make sure I quote him correctly, gave a statement about 6 months ago that said 90% of grooming for trafficking occurs online.
Yep.
And so, and everybody can say, well, that's Houston, that's not here, that's not Galveston County, that's not Harris County, that's not Montgomery County, that's the city of Houston. And that's really not true, because we know from experience with working with families that the grooming process, access to our young people is across the board, because it happens online.
Internet has no walls.
Exactly. No. It doesn't have, it's not confined
and
to
no time.
a location.
Yeah.
You're right.
Or time. Yeah, exactly. You're right.
And so our focus for about the last year, has really been to educate and equip young people and families about the online grooming process. And that's social media, that's gaming, online gaming, that's chat rooms. I don't know if young people do chat rooms anymore, probably not as much, but there are chat rooms within online gaming, you bet.
Right. Yeah.
But not like
they don't call them that, right? I don't know. I don't play video games.
Not like the dial-up days of chat rooms,
But you've got mail.
Yeah, exactly. But that's really our focus. And so we actually produced a film, and I'll pass the microphone to Stephanie here for a second and let her talk about the film. But we produced a short film called Groomed. And we filmed that last summer.
June.
Last June.
Yeah.
And so I'll let her talk about that. But it really is we feel it really is a great equipping tool for young people themselves and parents. And so Stephanie, tell us about Groomed.
Well, like we
sorry, Darren, I was doing your job.
I love it. No, that's great.
You need a sidekick,
right?
And so, we talked about when we first got in, and we just jumped in at any opportunity to serve. And so a lot of what we did was focused on the aftercare. And we were out of Bissonnette and doing outreach to the prostituted women out on Bissonnette. And it kind of hit us where we kind of had this, like, what if we moment. And so the Lord has really been putting those 3 words, what if we?
Yeah, that's what you've been taglining that on.
I have been. And because it's just, it really is a motivational kind of way. Like, what if we did this? What if we said that? What if we went here? And the Lord put that on my heart, is like, what if we reach the girls now who are 11, 12, and 13 and educate them about this grooming process before we have to reach them out on the street, out in a club, out in a massage parlor, because we see these just beautiful girls out working out on the street. We see them in the clubs, and your heart breaks, and you want to know their story, and you want to know, like, how did you find yourself in this position? But we had this what if we moment, and we kind of looked at each other, and we didn't know what really to do. And we started kind of thinking about the grooming process, and that's where we found a lot of stories that we heard from women that we've worked with, parents that we've heard stories from, as this grooming process, like literally step one is this, step two. Right. And it's almost like a how to groom a teenager for dummies handbook was handed out to these traffickers, and they go by it, and guess what? It works. Yep. And so we thought, if this is literally how they're getting the supply, right? We talked about the demand and supply. Where's the supply coming from? The supply is coming from this grooming technique that traffickers are using. And so we thought, what if we make this movie and we highlight these steps, and we show, like, in real time, not real time, but like a first person perspective of this girl who has a healthy relationship with her friend group and a healthy relationship with her mom. And through this grooming, these steps of this grooming process, people can physically watch the film and see how this young lady starts walking through these steps, and then at the end, potentially what the outcome could be of her actually being put out on the street and being trafficked. And we had this idea, I'm this person where I have 1,000,005 ideas. If you want an idea, I will give one to you, because my brain is rattled with them. Kirk is the kind who takes my ideas and picks through them and says, nope, this won't work. This sounds silly. This is not affordable. But when we sat down and we kind of had this, and we both said, yeah, like, this is a really good idea. But then you look at it and go, well, we need to film, we need to edit, we need music, we need da-da-da. And we were like, oh my gosh, like, this doesn't even make sense. Well, at that same time, my mom and my dad, they live up in Idaho, and my mom called me and she's like, oh, remember Travis, that young man who goes to our church? He's making this film to try to get into college and try to get a scholarship, and your dad and I are in it. And I'm all, oh, I'm sure that's going to turn out great, you know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this poor kid, he doesn't even know what he's getting himself into. And my mom actually filmed it. It's kind of like this prodigal son. It was done to a song that this young gentleman had picked out, and him and my dad acted it out. My mom filmed it, so I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. Yeah. And I'm thinking, if he took my mom and dad, my mom being the one filming it, edited it over this, I mean, I was like, wow. So I'm talking to my mom. She sends me this little, it was only 3.5 minutes because it was to a song or so.
Right.
And I said, and this is what usually gets us in trouble, is my mouth. I say, man, Mom, Travis should come down here and shoot a film for us. And she goes, really? And I'm like, well, yeah. Like, haha, yeah. I talked to him twice on the phone. We did a couple video conferences. I told him my heart for the film, what the different steps were. We talked about what was trafficking, what was grooming, because I wanted him to understand it. So I first talked to him in March? Oh, wow, we're almost exactly a year ago, March of last year. And June, he was standing in our living room, ready to film.
See it, believe it, receive it.
Yeah, so he had just graduated high school in June, and then flew down 2 weeks later. So on the same day that they flew in to Texas, Kirk and I had just signed the paperwork on buying our house here in El Lago. We hadn't even moved in yet. Yeah. And so I left the title company, drove to Hobby to pick them up at the airport. We had just got our keys for the house. We were moving that weekend. We had no script. Like, I had hand-picked out the people that were going to be in the film. I'd approached them in March when this idea started coming forward, asked them to pray about it because I wanted to make sure that they understood what the film was going to be about, and had them all picked out. Didn't really know where we were going to be filming at. We had no budget. I think a lot of our lighting was a flashlight with a blue plate to make it look like a moon. And, those kind of things. And our boom mic was really a mic duct taped to a broomstick. Yeah. And we just said, kind of one of these moments where you just say, all right, Lord, this is yours.
Yep.
However this needs to look to make the impact that it needs to make, it's yours. And we spent 6 days, 6 to 10 hours a day filming. It was exhausting. At a couple points, we were just like, we don't even know what we're really doing. And he flew back to Idaho with our whole film and put together this amazing trailer that just blew your mind. When you watch the trailer, you're like, oh my gosh, like we did that. This is crazy. And we did our first premiere this last January at Dominion Church. We had a premiere. Dominion Church is located in Dickinson. And about 150 people showed up to watch the film at this event. And it was awesome. And it was really phenomenal. And there's a little bit, we're still kind of in a little bit of the editing process just to make sure that it's 100%.
Tweak it.
Yeah. But what we showed, really true. That's when you know that prayer, when we just said, all right, God, like this is yours and however you need it to look. Because there was parts in the film, and to be honest, I don't remember even filming those parts. Sure. Like it was just because we did so much in the way he edited it together. So now again, when I say I'm talking about an 18-year-old young gentleman who has the heart for restoration and a heart for, Jesus, just wanted to do something with his gifts and talents, know? And so this is funny. So he started college this past August, and he said, well, I'm going to go to school to be a doctor. And I kind of did this. Sure you do. And because in my heart, I knew, no, this is not his calling. But of course, you can't say that to an 18-year-old boy. No, and so he sent me a text message, last week? And he said, I just want to let you know, I'm considering changing what I'm going to school for to do videography.
Awesome.
And I texted him back and I said, well, I didn't want to say that out loud, but yes, I agree with you. We kind of knew. Yeah. And because what he's done with this film has been phenomenal. What he's done with taking it out of our brains, because I saw it in my mind. I just didn't know how to get it out. Yeah. And he took it and created something so powerful, so impactful, something that what's so weird is that every person that's seen it and who has come up to us has picked something very different out of it.
Sure. It touches a different part with everybody, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's when you know that every single part and the film is only, after he gets done with it, it's going to be about 16 minutes. But it's just 16 minutes. And somebody picks something different out of every single time we watch it. And even every single time we watch it, I see something so different out of it as well. So we're really happy about how this came out. We're excited because our heart is train, equip, mobilize.
Yep.
And that is the motto of our ministry, of what we've done, because Kirk and I can't do it all.
Sure.
Like we can't go to every school. We can't go to every city hall. We can't go. But if we can equip you, look at you doing this podcast. If we could equip you, then you can mobilize people that you know.
Right.
We're not in your same friend group. We don't have we don't know all the same people. But if we can equip you and train you, then we mobilize you in your friend group or in your work environment or in your family.
Train and equip.
And then you train and then that's how this all multiplies. Absolutely. And so that's what this film is, to get it in the hands of our youth.
Yeah.
For it to be a tool for them. So because we can't, like I said before, we can't sit in a group of 16 and 17-year-old kids. Right. But if we can put this film in their hand and the knowledge of this film, then they can go, oh my gosh, like I can talk to my friends about this, or I can. So it's an equipping tool.
Well, I've seen it. I've seen the trailer and I've seen the video, and it's amazing. He's really talented. I've got a little bit of experience with videography and filming, and I had a TV show for a little bit, part of one, and I did exactly what you did. I reached out to a family member whose stepson was going through videography school and brought him in, and he did it. And I couldn't pay him, but I said, we can build your resume.
Yeah.
And he's been on the top 2 shows in the hunting and fishing industry.
Oh, that's awesome.
And now he's started his own company. So, tell you want to make God laugh, tell him your plan, but give it to God and watch a plan happen, right?
Exactly.
So,
that's why when he said he wanted to be a doctor, I'm all, sure you do.
And I just want to reiterate, you and I had a conversation, and so a couple of weeks ago,
Yep.
and we said trafficking doesn't only happen to young ladies.
Right.
And that was a point that you brought up, and that was such an accurate point and so valuable to express.
Mm-hmm.
But with this film, we felt like in a film format, we could most accurately depict the grooming process for young ladies.
Well, I think
And so,
it's more accessible, and it's more people will be open to seeing that, right?
exactly. And so we never ever want to discount and say that trafficking is one-sided and it only happens to young ladies. We never
Right.
want to say that because that's
No,
not accurate or
not at
true.
all.
But for this film's purposes, we
Yeah.
felt like we could most accurately depict that process with a young lady.
Well,
And so that's why
I
we
think
chose
it speaks to both, right? I mean,
I
it
think so.
does absolutely.
it's the process, right? It's the
Yeah.
it's the
And that's
formula.
what-
It's the
Yes.
formula
Yes.
that not just the pimps, the local pimps use. These are
Exactly.
cartels.
Correct.
Don't fool yourself. This is an organized crime
Oh yes.
is going away from drugs,
Yes.
and they are going into human trafficking.
Oh, you bet.
Well,
You
yeah.
can-
The
you can
average
open up the
person
book.
that's trafficked is used 70 times,
Correct.
and they're moved 8. So
Yeah.
there's a network that because they got to keep them moving so they don't get
Well,
caught.
I want to correct you a little bit. They're not used 70 times. They're used over a course of almost 7 years.
Right.
Okay.
So then you figure if a girl is sold 20 times a night for the next 7 years and she makes $200 every single turn, what's 200 times 20?
Yeah.
Times that by 7 days a week, times that by 30. I mean, that woman, what I just actually read an article today that it said that when your daughter gets trafficked, she's worth $300,000 to a trafficker because that's what he can make off of her back.
Right.
And so when you think about that, the investment of grooming is such a great investment.
Which the grooming process can be up to a year long.
Yeah.
Sure.
It can be shorter, it can be longer, but it's a valuable investment for traffickers to invest that time and the gifts that come with trafficking, the purses, the nails, the getting hair done, whatever the case may be.
It's nothing.
It's nothing because the payoff is so valuable.
Yeah.
And I guess I would point out really quickly that I think a lot of us have had or have an interpretation of trafficking is like the movie Taken with Liam Neeson, where his daughter was overseas, somewhere that's not America, and she's snatched out of a safe room or a safe place and taken and drugged and put into this life. And that does happen here in the States and overseas, but that's about 2% of the actual overlook of trafficking in the United States. That's only about 2% is snatch and grab. And the rest of it is literally grooming a young person online to willingly walk away from their friend group and their family and get in a car with the trafficker and then disappear and cut off all ties with family and friends. And so that's why it's so important to recognize, I guess, the more modern definition of what trafficking is, the realistic interpretation of what trafficking is these days. It's not snatch and grab. That's only 2%.
It's not the poor orphan or the
Nope.
underprivileged. I mean, there's a lot of illegals that are trafficked. They're a very vulnerable group, but it's no different than
we're talking about
Miss Susie down the street, right? Yeah. And America is one of the top consumers of human trafficking.
Oh, you bet. Absolutely.
It is.
We have the most disposable income. Well, one of the most, the wealthiest countries.
I mean,
so you bet.
To bring it home from Seabrook to Webster, that's 8 miles. They busted 25 people.
Yes.
And several establishments less than a month ago in a sting. And they're doing stings all around Houston.
Oh, yeah.
There's nailing 300 and 400 people at a time.
Yeah.
And it's still there. I mean,
there's roughly 30 illicit massage businesses between Seabrook and Friendswood.
Wow.
Yes.
30.
And then where you find the most of them kind of in clusters is around NASA. So where you find men, like a larger population of men with an income that is high, disposable, and so they go on lunch breaks. So one of the most visited times of illicit massage parlors is between noon and 3. So because if you're married or if you have a family at home, well, you can go on your lunch break and no one ever finds out, and you use cash and and so this is our heart of just bringing this education and awareness of saying, hey, listen, El Lago, listen, Seabrook.
Yep.
You are not set apart from this. Like, this
Right.
is something that's happening. There's exploitation that's going on within our
Yep.
community. There's grooming that's going on in the homes right around us. There's exploitation going on at massage parlors right here, like behind our house here in where we live. And it's just these things of just saying like, okay, we understand that it's comfortable to live in this imaginary world.
The Alago bubble, or the Community X bubble, right?
Yes.
Clear
exactly.
Lake bubble, Houston bubble.
Yes.
And
There is no bubble.
No, and
Correct.
you know, and that's okay. Like, oh, right, because we all want to feel safe, and we all, and that's fine. And but then also, you can't then turn around and live in this bubble, and then something happened to your child, and go, oh, well, nobody told me.
Right.
I didn't know. I wasn't aware of this. And it's like, well, okay, that's why we do what we do.
Right. Ignorance is not bliss in this situation.
Absolutely not. It's very damaging. Ignorance is very very damaging.
We feel that the worst thing that we can do as a community is not talk about something.
Absolutely.
If it's uncomfortable or if it's a little bit taboo or whatever the case may be, the worst thing we can do is not talk about it, because then no one is equipped or prepared.
America needs to get comfortable having the uncomfortable conversations.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
I went to a women's
That's the best way to keep our young people safe and to keep our families safe, is to have these conversations and talk about it and prepare our kids and prepare our young people for the eventuality that they're going to be exposed to some type of reach from a trafficker. And that's not a fear tactic. That's not that we should all be running around scared, but it literally is just to say we should prepare our young people and our children that this is what's going on in our area, in the greater Houston area, in community X area, and these are the steps that happen, and this is how to avoid getting involved in it, or these are the conversations where you as a child should come talk to me as a parent and say, I was reached out to by this person.
Right.
And then, that's the best way to keep our children safe, is have these communication.
We need to make Americans aware. I mean, I don't care if you're 80 or 8.
You got it.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
Everyone in that span is a target.
Yes. Yep. You got it.
Well, there's a customer for all of that, right?
Yes,
you're right.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely right.
So equip everybody, and then they can better prevent it, walk away from it, do whatever.
Yes. And you brought up a really great point, which was it's not just kids who are in the foster system or kids, underprivileged. Right. It's not just those kids. And historically or typically in the past, those kids you had the easiest access to, because there was not a lot of oversight or not a lot of accountability for those kids. And so now the accessibility is across the board from
the internet,
this people group that we're talking about, all the way to parents, parents who make $1 million a year,
right?
And that's because of the internet, that's because of social media, and that's because of online gaming. And so literally,
great equalizer.
The access is literally across the board. There's not anything that limits that access. So
and the odds are in the criminals factor.
Because
it's on their side, because of it's a bad topic to talk about. It's taboo. It's dark. Let's avoid it. It's uncomfortable.
Correct.
They want to keep it that way.
Correct. You bet.
So
absolutely,
it's people like you and Missionaries for Hope and Coffee to the Rescue, where it's our job to enable the good.
Yes. And shed light.
And bring it to light and make it a not uncomfortable conversation.
And
I think in the past, I would say 3 years, it's become very mainstream to talk about.
Yes.
People like Dan Crenshaw, he just had an anti-human trafficking symposium in Houston. Podcasts are talking all about it. We got Deliver Friend up in Dallas. They're ex-military former military, who are, shutting down traffickers. They shut down Backpage. And they actually took over the Backpage offices. And they're building their anti-trafficking business on the skulls of their enemies.
Literally.
I love it. So, and that's one of the groups that inspired me, a podcast on Team Never Quit, that inspired me to get involved, because I figured I got to do something. I'm not afraid of tackling the hard stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, that's where I kind of thrive, right? So
Yeah.
I'll take it on and see what I can do, and I'll take it as far as I can. I don't know where this is going. I mean, but it brought us together.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's my friends. I'm having conversations that we would never talk about.
Yeah.
I've people said, "Oh my God," I'm sitting there making coffee, grinding coffee with the person who I work with, and he's like, "Dude, I haven't slept for a week since you told me about this,"
Right.
Yes.
which I would have never heard, but I'm glad I did,
Yeah.
because I mean, it's in our backyard. It's so prevalent, and I've said, buddy, I'm glad we had this conversation. I'm glad you partnered with me, because I didn't know how to do this, but it came all together, kind of like what yours did. It came together,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
then it's
Yeah.
going to blossom, and I don't know where it's going,
Yeah.
but I know where it's going on March 23rd.
Yeah.
I did that there.
Yeah.
Good segue.
Very
on
good.
on March 23rd, we are having at the City of El Lago Town Hall, we are having a anti-human trafficking education session,
That's
Yes.
right.
and Missionaries for Hope is putting on the seminar.
Yep.
Right.
We're
At
going to
7
bring the
o'clock.
film.
Right. So we're gonna debut the film. There, it's called Groomed, and Travis did a great job,
Yes.
Yes.
and so did y'all. And then we're also gonna have a handout
Yes.
where kind of what to look for on both sides, the
Absolutely.
victim and the aggressor, and
Yes.
kind of how to address it, and then give some techniques or places to go to find out more information.
Yeah.
Yes.
Resources. There you go. It's getting
It's
late. My
okay.
mind shuts down after 5, I promise. But
Oh no. No.
but it's going to be a great. It's an hour-long program.
Yeah.
It's March 23rd at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And Missionaries for Hope is putting it on. You can go to missionariesforhope.com,
Yes.
and you can see the trailer for the Groom
Yes.
movie, and you can learn all about you guys.
Yes.
Right.
And
Darren, we will also have a personal friend that's going to join us, volunteering his time. He's a lieutenant in HPD, and he oversees Internet Crimes Against Children Division. And so
That's
part of
awesome.
that, so he's going to come and volunteer his time to help answer questions if there are any, or to give any legal input, maybe that we, not being lieutenants in overseeing Internet Crimes Against Children, that maybe we would miss or not have the right answer. And so that's a really valuable resource to us.
That's a great addition, and that's boots on the ground from the
Yes.
tip of the spear, right? He's
Absolutely.
door kicking.
Yes.
Yes.
And
He's
so
shutting
he'll
it down,
be
building
there
the
with us
cases.
as well. Yeah. So we just wanted to throw that in as well. And
That's
we'll have
huge.
that. He's going to have a lot of good information to share as well, I'm sure.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited about that, and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to a great partnership working with you guys,
Absolutely.
We're so
and
thankful.
taking this and seeing where it'll go.
Yeah.
But I think I'm glad El Lago is going to be one of the first communities
Yes. You
that
guys
puts this
are.
on,
You are the
Yeah.
first.
The
Yeah.
first. You bet.
and that's exciting, because we are small, but we are mighty, right?
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
and there's nothing that can't stop a community that tackles issues that betters the
Together.
community.
Yeah. Together as a
Yeah.
community.
And that's what it's all about, because I mean, as newer residents to El Lago, you'll see our city celebrations coming up, and we've just got a great flourishing community of everybody getting together. We're a very diverse community, but we're a very involved community. It's such a beautiful place. So welcome to the community. Obviously,
Yes. Thank
I mean,
you.
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to working together and seeing
Us
where this
too.
goes. And let's go raise a lot of money and impact a lot of lives to prevent people from being
Fantastic.
sucked into the human trafficking situation.
Yes.
You bet.
Well,
Well,
thank
we're
you
really
again.
thankful for all your efforts and for everything that you're doing
Yes.
on your end, and we're super happy to be partnered with Coffee to the Rescue, and anti-trafficking and great coffee, just go together. So
Absolutely.
how can you? That's a match made in heaven. How can you beat it? But yeah, Darren, just one more time, because I think I interrupted you when you were
No
saying
problem.
it. I apologize. Our website is missionariesforhope.com, and so there's a
Okay.
trailer for our film Groomed.
Yeah.
There's email submission forms. You can sign up for our newsletters. You can email us, connect. We'd love to get together and have coffee and have conversations with people. And we love people. We'd love to just impact as many people as possible and equip and share the knowledge that we've gained. So that's our heart.
Awesome. And once again, for Coffee to the Rescue, if anybody's interested in buying coffee,
Yes.
$20 a bag, and the profits goes to Missionaries for Hope to stop human trafficking.